Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Asia Society Tokyo. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule. It's extremely hot out there, so we're glad that we're in here, and I'm so glad that so many of you actually decided to come to be here in person. I think that live communication, really is the spice of life. Now, without further ado, today's speaker does not need any introduction. Yuriko Koike, the governor of Tokyo and a leading politician who for many, many years actually ranked far above everybody else as the most popular politician in all of Japan. Yuriko, Governor Koike, she's going to talk to us about Tokyo towards a sustainable future. And after her remarks, we'll have a little bit of a fireside chat, and I will open it up for Q&A from the audience very quickly. But now, without further ado, Tokyo Governor Yuriko Koike.
Hello, everyone. I'm Koike Yuriko, Governor of Tokyo, as you might know. And thank you very much again for inviting me today. All of you here are building bridges between Japan and the world. And it is a great honor to be here speaking before you about what's happening in Tokyo and what's going to be here in Tokyo. First of all, I want to say one thing, that the tragic passing of former Prime Minister Abe has been a tremendous shock to me. Some of you might know that under the Abe administration, I served as special advisor to the Prime Minister for National Security Affairs and Minister of Defense. And I was responsible for strengthening relations with our ally and with Asian countries as well. Many people have contacted me to offer their condolences, even for me. And I would like to thank all of you for your kind thoughts for him. And yesterday, talking about the day before yesterday, it was exactly 1 year after the Tokyo 2020 Olympic and Paralympic Games. Seeing the athletes surpass their limits helped bring together the world and deliver a message of courage and hope. In history, the Games had never before been held in an odd-numbered year, 2021. Because of Abe's decision to carry on, very strong decision to carry it on, even if delayed by a year, we were able to host the Games successfully despite the pandemic. Afterwards, the officials of the Beijing 2022 Winter Games and the Dubai Expo in the United Arab Emirates both expressed their gratitude that their events could also be held thanks to the Tokyo Games. Now, looking back 100 years ago, the world endured the Spanish flu epidemic, which even took the lives of my great-grandfather and great-grandmother. And at that time, the 1920 Antwerp Games in Belgium were a beacon of hope for the world following the darkness of World War I. And I hope that the Tokyo Games will also serve as a beacon of hope. On the first anniversary of the Games, July 23rd, we held a commemorative ceremony at the Japan National Stadium, where the upcoming 2025 World Athletic Championship will take place. As you know, in Oregon, Eugene, Oregon, the World Athletic Games is now taking place. And the latest news is that not a marathon, but how do you call it, Kyoho, a Japanese athlete won the silver medal. And we are planning a number of other events this year, including a Paralympic commemorative event. And Tokyo 2020 was a great success, and we will carry forward its legacy for future generations. Meanwhile, the fight against COVID-19 is far from over. Tokyo has been taking proactive measures to combat the virus. Wearing a mask is not a legal obligation, but a symbol of voluntary protection in Japan. And thanks to public awareness, which is very high in Japan, and cooperation, Japan's infection and mortality rates are the lowest in the 38 OECD member countries. Tokyo is continuing its efforts by promoting mobile vaccine buses to encourage young people fourth shots for the elderly and expanding walk-in vaccination sites. As we recover from the pandemic, Tokyo does not aim to simply return to the status quo, but for a sustainable recovery where we create a better future. This includes the economy, the environment, diversity promotion, and so on. Unity in diversity, the vision of the Tokyo 2020 Games, deeply impressed upon us all. Indeed, the Games left us with many legacies, the greatest of these coming from the athletes. Individual differences can be a source of strength, especially if we celebrate and empower them. I believe that creating a truly barrier-free society, an inclusive society that transcends gender, ability, and nationality is an important mission. Tokyo itself must work toward becoming an inclusive society. Only then can we call ourselves a mature city. Reflecting the voices of women and empowering them is essential to realizing a society where everyone can shine. Specifically, Tokyo has introduced the quota system for councils of our government, setting the composition of the council members at 40% or more of either gender. Furthermore, the share of female members in the Tokyo Metropolitan Assembly is the highest in Japan. And you might know that the governor is a woman. In addition, we are removing barriers faced by sexual minorities. The partnership system being implemented in November will alleviate inconveniences, and for the first time in Japan, we will introduce an online system to complete the registration procedure, and this will prevent so-called outing, where a person's gender identity or sexual orientation is unintentionally revealed. Maybe this is a bit Japanese. Anyway, furthermore, it is essential to develop our children's potential and nurture their leadership for a new era. In May, I traveled to United Arab Emirates to convey my condolences for the late president and met with the new president, His Sheikh Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan. His Highness expressed interest in Japanese education for many years, morality and etiquette, and so on. And we affirmed that we would work together to promote high school exchanges in the future. Tokyo will encourage fostering of global mindsets among the youth and developing global leaders, much like those gathered here. Speaking of the coming generations, we owe them a future. And this summer, many parts of the world are facing extreme weather. It is clear climate change is an urgent issue that all humankind must address. As part of our responsibilities, Tokyo aims to have greenhouse gas emissions by 2030 and finally reach the goal of zero emissions by 2050. In concrete terms, we are preparing a revised ordinances to make the installation of solar panels mandatory for housing manufacturers. In order to overcome the coming energy crisis, Tokyo is promoting HTT. I have a badge here. HTT, an acronym from the Japanese words herasu H, save, T for tsukuru, generate, and another T, tameru, store or charge. When I was the Minister of the Environment, as you know, that I came up with Cool Bees, yes, a campaign encouraging offices to adopt lighter work wear during summer. Despite having almost no budget, because the Ministry of Environment has the least size of annual budget amongst many other ministries. And the voices of opposition from the necktie businesses, it has become common practice in Japan. This is an Asian style that fits Asian societies and climates. Through Tokyo, Cool Home, and Biz, I hope to bring this energy-saving philosophy into Tokyo households. Financial incentives are also important in the transition to a decarbonized society. Tokyo has been issuing green bonds since 2017. I was selected in 2016. So issuing the green bond by TMG was my first achievement as a governor. And this fiscal year, 100 billion yen worth of ESG bonds will be issued. Tokyo is leading such efforts for coexistence of economic growth and environmental protection. Tokyo is taking every possible step to promoting sustainable finance. The climate crisis, the coronavirus pandemic, the energy crisis, and at present we are witnessing drastic changes on a global scale. We stand at a major turning point of our time, and our actions now will determine our future. Tokyo will continue to not only be overcome, but to evolve into an even more resilient and prosperous city. The key to solving these difficulties is individuals, people who are willing to take on challenges, people who have dreams of a pioneering future, and people like you, all who have global knowledge. Let us overcome these hurdles together and realize a bright, sustainable future where society can grow and mature, and the people can thrive. Finally, I'd like to introduce an online magazine, Tokyo Updates. Tokyo Updates aims to shine a light on the city from a new angle and showcase the appeal of Tokyo. It features a range of content from interviews to editorials contributed by experts, prominent figures, and journalists of diverse nationalities. Tokyo is changing with every day, every hour, every minute, every second. So please visit Tokyo Updates for a better understanding of our present, and our future. Thank you very much for your attention. ありがとうございました。
I want to start out with one question. Why is it that you can get things done in Tokyo? You increase the number of women in parliament. You go to a zero paper policy in your yakusho. right, in your government, you achieve all these things. Why is it that this does not happen in other parts of the Japanese government?
Well, I think the decision-making system is completely different from the national government. The Prime Minister role is to be master of ceremony of the cabinet. That's all.
A master of ceremony.
Ceremony, yes. According to, yes, yeah, it is mentioned in our constitution. So he is a master of ceremony of the cabinet meetings. And on the other hand, governor is elected by people directly, and of course the old budget or ordinances and many other regulations are to be fixed by the assembly's acceptance. So we need some procedures, but such as green bond. When I was a minister of the environment, at that time, the combination of how to protect the environment and the power of money were not got married, not well connected at that time. But the first meeting which I was invited, which was held in Tokyo, was a UNEP meeting. I still remember so well that it's a meeting of the how to make good use of financial power to enhance the power of protection of environment. So I really understand this marriage is so necessary. We in Japan we have so much savings and money and so forth. Why this money should be utilized more useful in order to make the life of people here in Japan be better, and this is also good for keeping global environment better. And I decided, when I was the minister of the environment at that time, I couldn't do that because of my mandate is limited. And I have no way to manage the financial sector. That's Kinyucho, or at that time Kinyucho did not exist. But anyway, I convinced Yosano-san at that time. He's the one in charge of the finance, and we had a conference at Keidanren, because Keidanren is a big, shutai, in order to move the financial sector to be more friendly for the kankyo environment. Anyway, I couldn't do that during my service as a minister of the environment. Because other ministries are not well understand the meaning of of the marriage. Once when I ran for the governorship gubernatorial election, I set some koyaku promises, and one of the promises was to do something drastic in order to keep the Tokyo environment. So I decide, or I make a vision, and I decide, and the idea is accepted by the assembly. Then we can do that with our own budget. Tokyo is the only prefecture which is financially independent. Other 46 government, local government, has to receive money from the national government. Of course, some of the subjects or some of the activities are supported by the national government's finance, but the Tokyo government is financially independent.
So you are presidential.
Well, in short, that's right.
Now, what about, your inspiration? What about some of the other local governments? Because they have similar powers, whether it's Fukuoka, whether it is Kyoto, whether it is Hiroshima. What is your sense? Is there more of a groundswell at the other local governments to do things independently from the national government that apparently can't get anything done?
To some extent, yes. Every local government has its own characteristics and good point to carry these kind of independent policies go forward. So it's a matter of decisiveness or determination or having vision. Yes.
Decisiveness, determination, having vision. This is off the record.
I do deliver this kind of message publicly, so it's not secret. Sorry.
So
you want to keep it confidential.
Yuriko Koike is not just an absolute darling, but a complete visionary. Yuriko Koike, when she was the defense minister, right, she instigated an investigation into defense contracting in Japan, and everything was on live television. Yes. And she was not liked in many circles for that transparency, but it was actually a spectacular move. And all of your deliberations in the Tokyo Metropolitan Government, everything is in front of the public, everything is completely transparent and open. This is an amazing achievement that you've actually done. Vision, determination. Prime Minister Kishida, what are we to think of him?
Good question. Good.
You can answer in German.
But Greek. Greek.
Greek. You can answer in Greek. This is very good. But Greeks don't speak. They just lie on the beach.
Well, he's also a man of determination, and this is why he ran for the presidency. And he's a good man and gentleman, and we will see. But since we in front of us, I mean, in front of Japan, the subjects or things to do are piling that much. I mean, it's the energy crisis and inflation. Not that like in the United States or other countries, but inflations, and also the wage of worker is not increasing at all for 25 years, and there's no big demonstration against it. But anyway, I think the good thing. I mean, Japan is known as a manufacturing country, but today, many of the manufacturing are facing many drastic change, such as automobiles, and also the IC tips and many other those critically important materials are now out of. I mean, not in Japan anymore. But by the way, we are now rewatching Japan. What is the good? What is our advantage in Japan now under the yen depreciation? Food, rice. Japan, 日本やっぱり米の国。United States is called 米国. Japan is 米国. Yeah, we have 2 million surplus of rice, and we pay for that, even though it's an old rice. To keep in the storage, it costs a lot. Why don't we make good use of this? And yen depreciation helps to make it much cheaper, right? And oishii. Yes. So why don't we look at these kind of first industry once again? In order to keep good environment, we have to cultivate field and tambo, to keep a good environment and good irrigation and this kind of. So it's a good chance to look at our fundamental power. I think agriculture, why not? It's far from semiconductors producing stage, but this is what we have. And also, because of the Russian cases, the woods are now very expensive in the market. Well, in order to revitalize our mountain and woods, it's a good chance to export our wood. Why not? The yen depreciation helps, and because of the flooding and heavy rain, no one take the good care of those mountains these days. Yes, but once the economic factor works, why not? So in Tokyo, we have many, wonderful areas in Tama, and we have to take good care of that area. And people would like to have a second house in that area. Why not? Fresh air.
Governor Koike, I love this because it sounds like you're ready to launch a national campaign. Something that goes way beyond, just Tokyo, because, obviously, you're right.
Yeah, unfortunately, in Tokyo, we don't have rice fields. A little, very, very limited place in Akiruno and some area. So, just a week ago, TMG and Niigata Prefecture made a contract because Niigata is a famous rice-producing prefecture. So, as the most, biggest consumers prefecture, Tokyo, and producing area, Niigata, why don't we get together and to have a win-win project?
Right.
Yes.
Right. I want to change the subject and then open it up for questions from the audience. In 2019, the Asia Society actually awarded you with the Game Changer.
Yes.
Right? Remember?
Yes.
This was before COVID.
Thank you.
We can remember this.
Thank you. I keep it in my room.
Do you keep it in your room? This is very good. But
in the center of my room.
But in the center of your room?
Yes.
Are you sure?
Sure. Please check it.
Please check. Okay, good. Do I need to wear special glasses? No, but all joking aside, you have been not just a champion, but a leading role model for career women, for female empowerment, not just talking, but actually doing, not just debating, but actually fighting. You've picked a lot of fights, right, with a lot of guys, right? Thank God, never with me. But in all seriousness, where do we stand? This is a big part of your legacy. Where do we stand? What next steps of progress are needed for female empowerment?
Well, I do not have any intention to fight against men. But those who make decision is unfortunately men. By men. So at the end of the day, I have to fight against men who make awful decisions. And And thank you very much for your attendance, Mexican ambassador here. And she is organizing a Lady Ambassador Society here in Tokyo. And I'm organizing mayors, women mayors organization or forum. And last year we got together and have a good conference, exchanging views how other countries are doing for women's empowerment and so forth. And unfortunately, today the number of governors, women governors, I myself and Yamagata Prefecture's woman, and 32 or 30 something, recently Suginami Ward, Kucho, the mayor, was elected, and she's a wonderful woman. I haven't met her yet, but she came back from Holland 3 months ago and ran for the election and won. Wow. Sugoi. Anyway, the number of mayors. We have how many governments, local governments, small and big? 1,500 or something.
1,500 governors.
No, mayors. Mayors. And amongst those numbers, only 32 or 3 women mayors. And the common thing is that among those women leaders, they are not recommended by LDP. Well, in order to be the candidate, they have their own procedures, and to be the candidate, women candidates, is so difficult. So I run against the LDP and other big. And I was independent when I ran the first election and won. But in the LDP, I wasn't be the candidate. So people decide, not by the party's old gentlemen.
Party's old gentlemen. Very good. Any questions from the audience here? Anybody? Hi, Chris.
As Jesper mentioned, you are very much a role model for many people. I'm wondering if you could be a role model for other prefectures as well. And I'd like to ask you, you have a unique position because not only are you popular, you also are in an independent city, which is financially independent. So my question is, do you think other cities and or other prefectures can be financially independent and thereby be free of the central government control?
Well, I hope so, and I will not say anything about other prefectures' policies. But I think some national regulations become sometimes a hurdle. And I myself is putting much weight to invite more financial institute or financial companies and many funds, even especially after Hong Kong, because Japan is free from, based upon the law and free of speech and this kind of thing. Although the English language is not so good in Japan, unfortunately. But and as TMG has set incubation system and one how do you call it 1.5 shop system in order to register the company and to employ people under the Japanese labor regulations and this kind of thing. But of course, the national tax system prevents us from doing more drastic or more challenging activities in order to invite more financial investors here in Tokyo. But we will do our best.
I think it was in 1990 when you invited me to appear on World Business Satellite when you were the anchor to talk about SII, and we were at Davos together in the mid-90s when you were the only Japanese politician to be there. Since around that time, I remember being on a Tokyo Miryok Kojo Inkai study group Mr. Mori Minoru created to try to elevate Tokyo as a world center, especially financial center. And I know that you also, after becoming governor, have been organizing groups in order to make this a reality. Can you give us an update, and what are the major issues that still remain, in your view, to have Tokyo really be a world financial center?
Well, thank you very much, and I also thank your wife, Sakie-san. Sakie-san and Kathy, both of them are my mentor, I should say. And they always encourage me in order to empower women in Japan. And I'm always saying that half of the population is women, and those power is not well used. What a mottainai, and still I'm fighting. But in order to more attractive city of Tokyo would be more how can I say, international services, such as all the regulations are in Japanese, and you need hanko on it, and so complicated system. And so we established a digital service department, which is headed by Mr. Miyasaka. Miyasaka-san was president and chairman of Yahoo in Japan, and he manages the digital transformation in Tokyo. And actually, in 2 years, we reduced hanko procedures from about 18,000 to 15,000. Still 3,000 procedures need hanko, or you should come to the ministry or the office in order to register or to get a certificate and this kind of thing. But those 3,000 remained procedures are related to national government. So as for the TMG, we do our best to be more to offer more good service for the Tokyowats or even the international companies. So the English, language support is very important, and also in order to invite more. More people in the financial services. I'd like to enhance Japanese companies or international companies to employ their wives or partners. Otherwise, they do not come to Tokyo alone. So this is also an important point. And as you might know, Mori building is now challenging to build such a wonderful and very high-scraper building in Azabu area, and they're going to have a British school there. So providing high education from the children is very important as well. So these kind of things, and also the medical care should be more internationalized. This is what we are doing to offer you not the red tape, but red carpet.
I hope that you speak more, because I think being in New York, and I was in Eastern Europe what month? The world is a mess, and Japan is like a paradise in the world. Government is very stable. Economy, maybe some people say boring, but stable. I mean, read Jesper's. But to the young youth of Japan, what do you say? How do you help them, motivate them? Because I gave a speech at Kyoto University, and a lot of them said, Mr. Murase, we didn't believe that Japan is so important or is so stable. But what words of wisdom do you have for the next generation?
Well, I think Japanese in general and the Japanese media in special are too much inward looking. And the information or news, what's going on outside Japan is not well informed. Therefore, we have to give more information what's going on in the world, and Japan is located in this. I mean, in this field, Japan is number one. No, in other field, Japan is much behind other Asian countries and so forth. I showed you some of the COVID-19 cases, how death rate is so low. Yes, this is it. In Japanese media, Japan is almost like a hell. but looking at the whole country, whole world in the area, Japan is doing so good. To keep life, people's life is the most important thing for administration and politics. So this is what we are doing.
Governor Koike,
yes.
One of my mentors here in Japan told me it's not whether the glass is half full or whether the glass is half empty. Yeah. It is who is going to fill it up. And you are somebody who's been filling it up for decades and decades. We thank you very much. I think all of us here in this room and all of us here for our audience live on the video stream there, you've got a new set of fans, a new set of ambassadors. If there's anything that we can do, please don't be shy. We will be there for you.